Hi, welcome back to At the Stove with Audrey Grove, episode 11. Today, we're going to be making a really easy summer meal, and I'm talking easy. So, just to fill you in, I'm back from a week's vacation. During quarantine, it's a little bit hard to really go anywhere, but I did manage a few days at the beach with friends, and that was really nice. Socially distanced, of course. Anyway, today we're going to be making Lemony Chickpea Stew with pasta and artichokes. What I love about this meal is it comes together in half an hour, and it's a one-pot meal, so a one-pot wonder. The only other item that you might have to use is a small food processor or a blender, but you could certainly do it by hand if you wanted to. So, let's get cooking. All right. Already at the stove, I've got my carrots and onions that are sauteing in what the recipe called shimmering oil. I love that. So we're gonna let these cook for another minute so they'll be completely softened, and then we'll add some garlic. So while we're waiting for that, we're going to do the next step in the recipe. So chickpeas are the main ingredient in this stew, and this is for Meatless Monday. So I have half a cup of chickpeas that I'm going to put in my little mini food processor. Then I'm going to put a quarter cup of vegetable broth. So by the way, all the ingredients that we're using today I found them in my pantry. I did not have to go to the store. And just to give you a little background on this recipe, last week a friend of mine asked me to come have dinner on her back patio, 6 feet apart, and I said, great, where do you want to bring in from? And she said, no, I think I want to cook. And she made this meal, and it was so good. As soon as I tasted it, I thought, I want to share it with all of you. Okay, so here's my quarter cup of broth. Now I'm using veggie broth. This is Meatless Monday. You can use chicken broth, no problem. And we're gonna use some lemon juice. So I cut up a lemon, and I'm just gonna squeeze that lemon. Okay, and we're gonna use 3 tablespoons. So let me grab my tablespoon, little measuring spoon, because I might have to get some more. So here's 1, 2, we're just gonna make it 3. Perfect. Okay, we'll put the top on. This is one of my favorite little pieces of the kitchen equipment. It's just so cute, and it does the job really well. So the recipe says that you can mash this with a fork really well in a little bowl, but honestly, I like to use this. Okay, so it's gonna be a little noisy. Ready? And I'm gonna just keep, as I do it, I'm gonna stop and look at it and see. This says until the mixture is fairly smooth. So we have a little more ways to go. I'm gonna just mix this. This is called multitasking. I wanna quickly put in my minced garlic. My kitchen's already smelling so fragrant. Gonna mix that around, and I say this all the time, when you put the garlic in, you don't want to cook it for too long because it starts to get really bitter. So I've got this on a really low heat, and I'm gonna do this one more time. Perfect. Okay, so let's start with the rest of this. So now it says stir till fragrant. It is so fragrant. It is delicious. Okay, so we're gonna add the remaining chickpeas. So the recipe calls for 2 cans of chickpeas. They say no salt added chickpeas and drained and rinsed well. So that's what they are. I don't know if you could hear that nice sizzle. And I'm using my favorite pot, which is this gorgeous Dutch oven that my daughter Kimmy gave me. Okay. I'm just going to read this for a moment. I want to make sure I'm doing this exactly right. So the chickpea puree we're going to hold off on. So we're going to add the remaining broth. So this says 4 cups total, and we already used a 1/4 cup, so 2 3/4 cups. This will prevent the garlic from burning and getting bitter, which we don't want. Okay. There it goes. Now we're going to bring this to a boil, so I'm going to put this up higher. I feel like I have a piece of garlic stuck in my hair. Okay. So I'm going to put in a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and it's up to you. You can add as much as you like. We don't love a lot of pepper, maybe a little bit more though, in my house, so I just use a little bit. And this recipe, like many other recipes, can be tweaked to fit your preferences, which is really nice. So I'm just going to do a little bit of salt because there is salt in the vegetable oil. And we always cook with low salt here. So let's mix that up. Now this recipe also calls for rosemary. In this house, we are not a fan of rosemary, so I am omitting it from our recipe. But if it's something that you like, you can put it in. So I'm gonna bring this to a boil, and then I'm gonna heat it to medium low. I'm gonna cover it and let it simmer for 10 minutes. So we'll be back when we're up to that step. So now we have brought the broth and the chickpeas, the onions and the carrots and the garlic up to a boil. Once it turned to a boil, we lowered it and covered it and let it simmer on a low heat for 10 minutes. So I'm gonna open it up, nice little facial there. This top is heavy. Give it a quick little stir. This looks fabulous. I'm gonna take the camera since I can't move. Can I have the camera? Thank you. Oh. And show you how nice that looks. Okay. So now we've added the pasta and it's cooking nicely. I brought it up to a boil, and then once it came to a boil, I brought it down to a low heat, and I'm gonna set my timer for 6 minutes. We're gonna let that pasta cook. Want to make sure that it says cook it till it's al dente, so we'll be looking out for that. And when we come back, we'll put the rest of the recipe together and get to taste it. So we're back to put this all together. Remember, we're still going with the 1 pot plus a little food processor if you wanted to use it. So now my pasta is cooked al dente. It looks fabulous. I'll give you a quick peek. Can you get that? Thank you again to my cameraman, Mark. Okay. All right, so we are going to put in the rest of the ingredients. If you were using a sprig of rosemary, you would then pull it out at this point. We're gonna add the chickpea puree. So remember, that puree was simply the lemon juice, ½ a cup. How many cups? half a cup of the chickpeas, and chicken broth. Actually, this one was veggie broth, sorry. Keep forgetting, it's Meatless Monday. So I'm gonna mix in to the mixture. And I think the reason that they want you to mash them up is because it gives the mixture a little more thickness, so it becomes stew-like, not watery. And then we're gonna put in artichoke hearts. So the recipe calls for 16 ounces of frozen artichoke hearts that you cut into bite-sized pieces. So I didn't have that. I had a can of artichoke hearts that was 14 ounces. So I wanted to make up the extra 2 ounces, so I had a jar of the marinated artichoke hearts. So I put a little bit of those in, so there they are. And I'm gonna put that into our stew. I don't know about you, but I love artichokes. So you could use any kind of artichoke that you have, the frozen, the canned, or the marinated. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna just go up a little bit on the heat, and I'm gonna take some spinach, just some baby spinach, and rough chop. I like to just roll it together. I'll put that in. I'm gonna put some more in. The recipe calls for 2 cups, lightly chopped. So I like to use a lot of vegetables in my recipes because obviously it makes them more healthy and even less fattening, which is great. This recipe was published in the Washington Post about, I think, a week or 2 ago, and it's a recipe by a cookbook author, and she also had a cooking show at one time. Her name is Ellie Krieger. If you ever have the opportunity to watch her show, it's excellent. So I'm going to just mix the spinach and the artichokes very gently, and we just want the spinach to gently wilt. So we'll just give it a minute or 2, and I want you to see what it looks like at this point. Okay. So while the spinach is gently wilting, we are going to take the other half of our lemon and just do a quick little zest that we'll put on top. You know, I'm gonna wait for that when we serve it. And if we need any more juice, we have another half of lemon. I'm just gonna get a little spoon because I want to taste this to see if it needs more lemon. The recipe calls for adding more lemon at the end, just to taste if you feel like you need it. Oh, this smells really good. So I'm gonna do a quick little taste. Very, very hot. I don't know if you can see the smoke coming off of that. Oh my, that's delicious. I'm gonna just squeeze a little bit of lemon juice and pour it on top, just a little bit. The lemon just really brightens up the recipe. So this recipe is done. I am so excited. All in all, this recipe should take about 30 minutes. So this is a perfect thing to cook when you have these ingredients and you don't really want to make a big fuss. Makes a nice pot. It says it makes 4 to 6 servings. I also have had it with rice instead of pasta. When I was at my friend Sue's house, when she made it, she cooked it with rice and it was delicious as well. All right, let me get my plate. We'll scoop up a little bit. This time I'm gonna let it cool for a minute because boy, the last time, I don't remember what it was that I cooked, and I did a taste test for you, it was so hot. So I'm gonna do a little lemon zest over the top, and for some reason it doesn't want to come out of the zester. Maybe just squeeze a tiny bit for flavor. Mix it up. Here is our lemony chickpea stew with artichokes and spinach. Looks really good, I have to say. You can take a little bit of Parmesan cheese and sprinkle it over. And I'm gonna take just a little bit of a taste. I'll let you know how it is. Let's blow on it really well. That is delicious. Wow. I hope that if you have the opportunity to make this, you'll try it. It's so healthy. The flavors are really fresh. And I can't say enough good things about it. So there you go. There's our chickpea stew. And, oh, my cameraman zooming in. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And once again, if there is anything that you'd like to see me cook on the show, please send it in to agrove@masonicare.org. Thanks for coming and seeing us at the Stove with Audrey Grove. I hope that you're doing well, staying safe. I'm thinking about you. And remember, cooking is love that you can taste. So let's get cooking. Take care.